Look, I know what you're about to say, and I can explain. There was a lot of sales.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome to the absolutely insane haul of comic books in March. If you haven't caught these before, I usually go over collected editions I picked up in a single month. This is a lot. I can explain, like I said in the intro. First of all, some of these things I ordered in February, and they just kind of took their sweet time getting to me. I typically order from smaller bookshops if I can, and, shipping speeds aren't fast, and I don't mind. I have a huge backlog. It's not like I'm like, oh my god, I need this book immediately. Two, there were sales. There was some Barnes & Noble Triple Stamps weekend, and Target did their buy two, get one book sale for their, deal week thing. And that's always a good time to pick up some bigger, thicker books because, combine them together. What do you got? Much heavily discounted books. So this haul wasn't as expensive as it looks to be, but there are some new releases, some older releases, some things I picked up simply because they were on sale. So let's get to it. There's a lot to it. If you enjoy this type of video, please hit the like button, please hit subscribe and the notification bell, and leave any comments down below, and tell me if the runtime's too long, because I love comic books and I could talk about these things for days, so you should be glad I stuck it to an hour. But on that note, let's take a look at the comic haul for March 2025. So let's begin with manga. First of all, we have the Mobile Suit Gundam Kukuru's Doan's Island, which is the Origin MSD series. MSDs are essentially like side stories or retellings. This is the first 3 volumes I picked up. Barnes & Noble is having a Triple Stamps weekend, which is where you get triple the rewards points, and I love picking stuff up on those because then I'm getting like a ton back in rewards. But let's talk about these more individually. But the Kukuru's Doan's Island story is an interesting one, because originally it was episode 15 of the Mobile Suit Gundam anime, and it was considered the lost episode because it basically was banned for release outside of Japan, and still is to this day. Now, that being said, it kind of gave it sort of a legendary status to it. And part of this is because, a lot of the outside Japan fandom never had access to it. And it went so far as that Yoshikazu Yasuhiko directed the Kukuru's Doan's Island movie, like a couple years ago, and that was sort of done in his Origin style. Now, with Gundam the Origin, you're getting a lot of Gundam up front here. Gundam the Origin is a manga that retells the original Mobile Suit Gundam, as well as including new flashback sequences. And so these new flashback sequences were taken and used for the Gundam the Origin anime. And so the manga is a complete telling where 2 of the volumes are flashbacks, but it tells the original story. But it did skip over the Doan's Island episode because it is a streamlined retelling. In fact, of all the versions of the original Gundam story, the Origin manga is my absolute favorite. It just feels a lot more streamlined, and it has a lot of story changes that allow certain spin-offs to make more sense in context. Things like War in the Pocket, or 8th MS Team. It's like, in the context of how the original series is written, it doesn't really work, but the Origin has a great way to do that. And I'm kind of sad that they didn't go and reanimate the rest of the Origin after doing the flashback stuff. So to go alongside this, we have Juji Ono on the MSD edition of Kukuru's Doan's Island, which is essentially telling the story of Doan's Island in an expanded form. Now, I'm not exactly sure how much of this made it to the movie. Obviously, this didn't. That wasn't in the movie. But you can start to see some of the Origin exclusive designs that we've seen model kits for. But this is essentially a retelling of the Doan's Island episode, but in an expanded form. So the nice part here is that we are getting hardcovers of Doan's Island from Kodansha US, which is pretty nice. Now, the only unfortunate part is that the Kodansha US hardcover size here, it's not the same as the vertical hardcover size that we got the original Gundam the Origin in. So you can see, and I remember when this was announced, I was kind of hoping it would have the same trim size as Vertical's great Origin hardcovers, but it doesn't. So that's kind of a bummer. There was 12 of these. They're fantastic. I know they're doing a re-release. They just announced they're doing a re-release of these where they're kind of combining the volumes together. So it'd be like 2 volumes together for $55. Their cover price of $30. Like, if you really want this series in a nice form, I do think this is going to be a nicer edition as the 12 hardcovers, and it's not that much more expensive, and you can get a lot of those on sale. The new edition sounds like it's actually removing some of the bonus material as well, some of the backup stuff that are in the back of these. I do recommend these original volumes. It's one of the most, really, I think one of the best editions of manga I've ever handled. So anyways, not to say anything bad about these, they're just a smaller size. They have put out multiple volumes so far. Here's volume 2 as well. Now, it's only a 5-volume series, so that's why I was like, oh, let me just kind of catch up while we're doing like triple stamps at Barnes & Noble. Volume 4 comes out in April, Volume 5 comes out in June. So that's when I'm going to read it, because I haven't read any of it yet. I'm looking forward to reading it, but yeah, I was like, I'll just wait till the last 2 volumes are out and then just kind of binge through all 5 of them. But they do look really nice together on a shelf. They just don't line up exactly with the old Origin volumes, but, you know, different publisher, so what can you do? Actually, you know, one last thing I was thinking about just now, this is actually a new manga size. Here is a Japanese-sized tankobon volume, which you can see this is smaller than, or this is bigger than that. And then here is a Viz standard size, which a lot of publishers use, and it's a little bit bigger than that. So if you guys remember my manga sizes video, welcome new size. I don't know if there's other Kodansha hardcovers like this, because I usually only see Kodansha do like paperbacks and 3-in-1s. But yeah, this is a different size than these, and also not the same size as the Origin ones and like other hardcovers I have. So hooray, more sizes. All right, next up, also picked up at Barnes & Noble during that triple stamps, it's X-Men the Manga Remastered, Volume 2. Now, this book confuses me. Not for the sense of, I don't know what this is. I have Volume 1, of course, which I have shown before. And when we're talking manga sizes, this came up in the video, but these are like a gigantic, like, brand new, unique size. So anyways, these 2 volumes, I guess because I haven't really talked about the manga on the channel before, these 2 volumes are adaptations of the X-Men the Animate series in manga form, and they're each done by a different artist. I really like them. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable. This first one, the first volume was the first 7 chapters, which goes all the way up to the Escape from Genosha episode. And then this is chapters 8 through 14, which gets us up to Morph's Revenge. Now, the interesting part about this is that this manga was originally published in Japan. A lot of sources say that the Japanese release covered the first 26 episodes of the show, which of course would be the first 2 seasons. But the English release by Marvel back in 1998 only did the first season adaptations, which is, from everything I can tell, accurate. Now, what is weird about this is that all of this has been, so far, the version that's from the Marvel English adaptation, but it's been touched up, the art's been remastered and such, and it's been pretty nice. But then we get to chapter 14, which is Morph's Revenge, which ends on a cliffhanger, because this is the first part of the 2-parter premiere to season 2 of the show. And there's no confirmation of a volume 3 coming out. The other thing I find interesting is that, each of the chapters here, because they are, remastering from the Marvel release of these, but of course, like now in the proper format and everything, a lot of the chapter pages have the credits on them. So as you can see here, we got the credits where it talks about, who the original mangaka was, but it's like translated by, and those are the credits from the original things, and then edited by Dan Nakarosis in 1998. But then you look here, and it says edited by David Brothers, translated by David Evelyn, which, was one of the names here in the translations, but no 1998 edition. And then even going into the credits in the back here, which I love this page where it says, "You're reading the wrong way, my X-Men." If you go back here, you can kind of see that it does mention, like, the credits of, original Marvel edition, but it only mentions up to chapter 13, because it says Viz Media edition, including chapter 14. So I don't exactly know if they're planning to do, chapters 15 through 26. That would require 2 more volumes of this, which I would totally buy. Maybe they're just testing it out. But it's kind of a weird thing because, yeah, we need chapters 15 through 26. They put an equal amount of chapters in each volume, except one of those chapters I don't think has been released in English before. So if anyone knows any more about this manga, because, like, information on it is very sparse online, like, please let me know in the comments. That being said, I love the spines. You got, like, the 2 halves of Charles Xavier's head. You got, 2 different sets of X-Men up here. Now, they could do more volumes because it's like, not all the X-Men are here. Like, there's no Jean Grey head portrait and such. Like, you can do definitely more, and maybe, like, the other 2, like, you could do 2 halves of, like, Magneto's head or something. I hope they do more of this because I really enjoyed it, and hopefully these sold pretty well. I mean, they're pretty reasonable. They're $25 for this big, thick book. Actually, I think this one was more expensive. Yeah, this one's $30. The price went up to $30. So volume 1 was $25, and the second one was $30. But They're really nice. They're larger than VizBigs. I hope we get to see more because I really, really enjoyed reading this. All right, let's do some non-Marvel and DC books. We got the TMNT Sourcebook. This is the IDW TMNT era. This is a collection of, they did this as 4 separate, like, thick issues. But this is essentially a guidebook and it's a source book because it's actually, like, the lore and stuff. For the IDW Ninja Turtles, here's the long table of contents, how to use this book. Basically, what this does, it's broken down the entirety of the IDW TMNT into character pages, into lore. It's broken down by sections for, like, your heroes, your villains, your mythical stuff. All the stuff that happened over 150 issues, plus all the spinoffs for the IDW Ninja Turtle series, all in here, with a glossary, an index, with a table of contents. Like, you can find pretty much anything you're looking for, and it puts it all into, like, a timeline order. This is really cool. I remember picking up the singles as they came out, and I was kind of reading through them. The nice part about this is that you've got the entirety here of the source book, and it is in a spine that matches the IDW collections. And I'll just have to have you take my word for it because my IDW collection hardcovers are on a shelf. I can't access that shelf at the moment. I've been reorganizing lately. But you can see it says TMNT Sourcebook. It's the same spine design as the IDW collections. It's the same book size. So that way you could have like your 18 hardcovers and then boom, sourcebook at the end of it. That's how I'm doing it because it covers everything that's in those volumes. It's kind of funny because basically this covers events that you can't get in those hardcovers at the moment because 17 and 18 aren't out yet. 17's out soon, 18's out this fall. Like, we're almost done with the original IDW Ninja Turtles run in hardcover. But yeah, it's a really cool like companion volume, and I really like seeing stuff like that. And I'm glad that they did it, and I'm glad that they thought, oh yeah, let's put the source book out in the size and style that'll match the hardcover collection for everyone that's been collecting those for this entire time. All right, next up, speaking of deluxe editions, here is the Mighty Morphin / Power Rangers Book 3. This came out a while ago. I'm a little late to the party because I thought I could just wait to see if I could get it cheaper, and I did. I did get it on sale, which was kind of a big thing for me just because I do own all this in singles. I've, kept up with these, but these are $75 hardcovers, and so even at discounts, they are still kind of expensive. And I was like, it was always like $55, and I was like, I like this arc, but I don't love it. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I will just wait a little bit, and I got it for about $30. So I'll call that a good win. But basically, it's the most recent Power Rangers hardcover. We're about to be hit with 3 more of these this year. We've got Recharged, Pink, and Darkest Hour coming out. But this is the end of the Mighty Morphin / Power Rangers era. So we got Mighty Morphin 17 through 23, I think, and then Power Rangers 17 through 23. This is the entirety of everything leading up to the Death Ranger's appearance and going all the way into the big fight with the Death Ranger, as well as like the backstory stuff for him into issue 100. There also is a new unique story in the form of The Last Dance. I didn't find it to be that interesting. All the hardcovers come with these unique stories, and some of them are good, and then some of them are kind of hit or miss. Like this one, I didn't really understand the point of, and that happens sometimes. What's also cool is we do have Ryan Parrott's script for issue 100 of Power Rangers, so it's got the entire script put out here, which I think is pretty awesome. And that's appropriate because not only is it issue 100 of the series, but also it was the last issue he did for Power Rangers. And then, of course, we got the standard cover gallery. That's the length of an art book back here, which I always like to see, plus character design sketches. There's Yale, the best Blue Omega Ranger. So let me get the contents here for those curious that don't already know. Yeah, it's Mighty Morphin 17 to 22, Power Rangers 17 to 22, and Power Rangers Unlimited the Death Ranger, and Power Rangers number 100. And that's pretty much everything. So that finishes this era, and we got 2 more hardcovers of the main era, plus the pink hardcover coming out this year, and there's still some stuff to get. Like, there's still at least like 1 or 2 hardcovers before the Power Rangers Prime era starts. So pretty nice volume to add to the collection. Moving on to Marvel, we have the Daredevil by Ann Nocenti and John Romita Jr. Omnibus. So this Omnibus is hotly anticipated because the Ann Nocenti run is one of the most requested Daredevil runs to be in Omnibus form, and I'd never read it before, and I kind of just blind bought it, partially because I'm really in a Daredevil hype bubble right now. I wonder why, with a really great Daredevil show airing right now. But this is a collection that I think was really well done. So Ann Nocenti is one of my favorite Marvel writers. Pretty much love everything she's written that I've read. This contains Daredevil 234 to 266 and Punisher number 10. Now, you also notice that it does say written by Ann Nesenti with, and then just a whole list of names, because unlike some other Marvel creator-focused omnibuses, they actually didn't skip issues. So this omnibus would follow up the Frank Miller omnibus because the first issue in here is Daredevil 234, the issue right after the Born Again storyline that Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli did. And this issue isn't done by Ann Nesenti, but Mark Grunwald and Steve Ditko. And so it's not either of the two listed creators. Same thing with the next issue. Basically, there was a couple issues that would have been orphaned in omnibus format if they hadn't tossed them into the beginning of this book. And I'm glad that they decided to not skip over these issues, so that way it does kind of paint a more complete picture when you're looking at the overall comic. You can see, here we are at 237, John Harkness. We're not, into Ann Nesenti yet, but I think anybody buying this is going to, of course, they're buying it for the Ann Nesenti run, John Romita Jr., whatnot. It's not so much John Romita Jr. in here. It's definitely more Ann Nesenti, but this is where her run starts at 238, which is a Mutant Massacre tie-in. This is kind of I really like that the first 100 pages, basically, are by other creators just to fill the gap. And I like that they kind of pointed out here, and they're like, plus stories bridging the gap between Miller and Nesenti. I like that. I like that a lot. I would love to see Marvel do that more. I'd love to see DC do that more. I don't like when omnibuses orphan issues just because that creator didn't write them and it's one or two issues. If there's a whole batch that you could put together, kind of like how some of the 2000s Daredevil, Bendis did a bunch of it, but then there's a bunch of gaps that you could combine into their own thing. That'd be one thing, but when it's just 3 or 4 issues, just toss them in. I don't think anybody's going to mind. As you can see, I've read a good chunk of this. I'm really enjoying this. It does live up to the hype. All right, I have one non-epic collection thing to talk about with Marvel. It's Doctor Doom by Christopher Cantwell and Salvador Larroca. I read this series as it came out. It is absolutely fantastic. I was really sad when it got canceled. This is the 10-issue series from 2019, plus the King in Black, Iron Man, and Doctor Doom tie-in, and then a story from a War of the Realms tie-in. This is really great stuff. This is a good exploration of Doctor Doom. It's a true solo book for him. It's not like a Fantastic Four spinoff in a lot of ways. There's a lot of stuff with him and Kang and Doom as a leader and how he, kind of handles Latveria and how he rules his country. And it has just some incredible artwork. That being said, if you're wanting to pick up one of the best Doctor Doom comics, like the one where he rides a bear, you can get this pretty good. It's $35 is a little much, I think, for the low page count. That's why I picked it up on sale, but really great stuff, and you're wanting to get a little insight into Victor Von Doom as a person, this is the book to get. So speaking of Daredevil, I did not realize how fast the Modern Era Epic collections were coming out. Yeah, basically, I had bought the first Modern Daredevil Epic, which was Volume 2, which is the start of Bendis and Milev's stuff, but also, some other writers. But the Volume 3 and when Volume 4 came out, I was like, wait, did I miss 3? Or did they skip over 3? And then I went, oh, wait, I did miss 3. I hadn't gotten it yet. So I decided to get these. Now, actually, I ordered these in February. They just showed up in March. But we got Out, and we've got Kings of Hell's Kitchen. I haven't read these yet because I've been reading my Ann Nesenti Daredevil Omnibus instead. But Volume 3 contains Daredevil 32 through 50. And then King of Hell's Kitchen contains 51 to 65 plus a What If issue. There is a lot of great stuff. Daredevil's basically had probably one of the most perfect runs in comics in the last 27 years. I have been reading everything from the 1998 onward. I haven't read these yet because I was waiting for these trades to come out. I'm probably going to go start binge reading because after this, the next one to come out is 6. So they're skipping over 5. So I'm probably going to read the contents of 5, read 6. They haven't announced the next one. So I'm probably just going to start reading and then get all the way caught up because I have read everything from Mark Waid on to present day. And so, trying to fill the gap here. But 2 more epic collections for Daredevil. I prefer these to the omnibuses for the 2000s run, simply because it does contain every single issue, whereas the omnibuses are oh, here's only the Bendis issues, here's only the Brubaker issues. I want every issue, and this is the way to do it. All right, this is a recent events pickup, and you think maybe it was an MCU thing, but no, this was a Marvel Legends thing. I've decided I should read the Dark Avengers comic, and I thought about just reading it on Marvel Unlimited. But then I also found out that, Dark Avengers, as much as I do remember it, I didn't read it when it came out. it also only was 16 issues. So this is the entire Dark Avengers series in one epic. And this is a thick epic. Like, I think this is one of the highest page counts on an epic collection. It's like almost 600 pages. And the cover price was $50, in 2024 when it came out. But this is Dark Avengers 1 through 16, annual number 1, plus the X-Men crossover, all the parts of that. I am really excited to read this. Again, I haven't touched it yet. I just got it a couple days ago. But I decided to pick it up, and the reason is because Marvel Legends has been doing it. I've read all the Dark Wolverine stuff because I'm a Dawkins fan, for better or for worse. But, I have the Iron Patriot figure. I've just got the Warbird Moonstone, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make Venom and Bullseye Hawkeye here. Venom, Spider-Man, and Bullseye Hawkeye. So I'm kind of like, I should read this team since I'm pretty much going to collect the team in Marvel Legends. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading through this. It's in the Dark Reign era, but it is a Dark Avengers epic. I don't know if there's going to be another one. I know there's some other, side miniseries, but those could be included, other places. Would you include, a Dark Reign Hawkeye in a Dark Avengers epic, or would you put it in a Hawkeye epic? I don't know exactly, but I thought, hey, for a one-and-done series, and, a binge I can read to kind of go with the figures I'm buying, might as well. You give me context on everything I'm doing instead of just going, well, I see the pictures of them, and I like the designs. All right, the next Fantastic Four epic is here, For No More. This is Volume 11 from 1978 to 1980, 192 to 214, annuals 12 and 13. This is got Marv Wolfman working here, John Byrne as well, Sal Buscema. Pretty solid lineup. I know a lot of people said this isn't their favorite era of the Fantastic Four. I always like the Fantastic Four. One of the reasons I'm buying every single Fantastic Four epic collection is because every time I picked up a Fantastic Four comic and read it, I've enjoyed it. And that's been some random trades, random volumes here and there, that sort of thing. And so even when it's weaker, I still really love this team and these 4 characters. So because of that, I'm just going to buy all the epic collections. I'm going to start reading through them because we've gotten a lot of gaps filled. Because I don't like reading with gaps. It just kind of bums me out. But we got a lot of gaps filled, and I think the next volume is 12. And they're reprinting some of them as well. I think this is the first of 3 or 4 epics we're getting this year between new and reprints for Fantastic Four. Thank you, movie year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this at some point. Love the Fantastic Four. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy, Quest for the Shield. Also, this was a February release that I was waiting on. This is Volume 2 with the insane date range of 1978 to 1990. Because the Guardians of the Galaxy, this being the original team, the Vance Astro, Yondu, Nikki Gold team, not the, the Star-Lord, Rocket, Groot team. This is, the second volume of this. Their appearances are scattered. They were backup stories. They did, crossovers. For example, this has, the Korvac saga. I'm just going to point the camera at this so you know what's going on. The Korvac saga stuff is in here. Some Marvel 2-in-1 issues, that sort of thing. They just kind of sporadically appeared. And then in 1990, they did get their own series, which was Guardians of the Galaxy. And so this is kind of a neat volume because it kind of covers what the old trades did, which was the old trades covered their early appearances and then the Korvac saga. And then they kind of stopped, whereas this goes all the way into their 1990s ongoing, which is really, really awesome. I like that they did put a part of it here because, it's probably... hey, look, artwork that's similar to the cover. It's probably going to take a while. I think we're only going to get one of these a year, basically, which is understandable because it's a lesser-known version of a lesser-known team. But I definitely am looking forward to reading this because I've never read the classic Guardians. I've read all the modern Guardians, never read the classics, and this has been a good way to do it. This is top of the stack of things to read in the near future because I'm going to keep up with reading these. And they've been doing them in order so far. We did 1 and 2. I'm hoping 3's next. But, again, we only get about 1 a year. But that's fine because it is a lesser-known team. But I'm happy we're getting them. And I'll definitely keep picking them up. All right, here's another thing I picked up on sale. It's New X-Men E for Extinction. I've been flip-flopping on whether or not I wanted this era in print. I read all of the Grant Morrison written issues. The New X-Men stuff from the early 2000s. This is Volume 1. 2001, 2002. It is New X-Men 114 to 126 and annual 2001. I ultimately did decide I'm going to at least get the first one because I do like a lot of what Grant Morrison did on this comic. They have a lot of really cool ideas, but I'm also a little bit turned off by the mentality of the X-Men of this era. I'm nostalgic for the Fox movies because I was a child when those came out, but the black leather thing is not my jam. There's a lot of great iconic things in this run, though, that I thought it should be in my collection for that, especially because you have stuff like Cassandra Nova's first appearance, you have Emma Frost joining, like, the X-Men properly, and I'm a big Emma Frost fan. They have this issue that's annoying because all in landscape view, which is fine. I know Omnibus collectors hated reading this issue in the Omnibus because, you know, when you're holding a paperback like this, it's like, oh, that's fine, but an Omnibus, that's a lot heavier. There's a lot of great stuff in here. There's a lot of cool storylines. I do like it in the broad sense. I'm just not sure if I'm going to buy the entire run because this first arc I thought was pretty great. I thought this first arc was pretty solid. I really like it. This goes all the way up to, like, Lilandra showing up to Earth. I like this first arc a lot. The second arc I wasn't, or not the second arc, but the contents of the second volume, I should say, not as big of a fan of. I did not like the riot at the school, and I don't like Quentin Quire and all kinds of things like that. So, you know, I'm not sure about that. But then I do like Planet X. I thought Planet X was fun. I thought the whole finale to the Morrison era was quite good. So I'm kind of conflicted. Like, I don't know if I'm going to buy Volume 2 because I don't like that era. But then it's like, well, if I'm going to get Volume 3, then I might as well finish the gap. But yeah, we'll see. Also, $45 Epic, and it's thinner than this Guardians one that's also $45. The Modern Era Epics always seem to come out a little thinner overall, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to I don't know if I'm going to reread it, but I'm just glad to have it in the shelf because I think this initial arc, you know, the attack on Genosha, Emma joining the team, like, it's iconic enough that I was like, I need this for my personal X-Men collection. Just not sure if I'm going to go for the rest of the series yet. All right, welcome back to Wolverine Brain Rot. We have Wolverine Tooth and Claw. This is a volume 9. Now, I have been, I finished, I've binge read all these Wolverine epics I got. From the last video, you may know that I got 3 Wolverine epics, and you're now going to have to listen to me talk about them because I really enjoy talking about Wolverine. So this one, the first one I talked about was number 6, Inner Fury. This was a fun volume. There's, like, stuff with, like, Wolverine fighting dinosaurs. I talked about that. It ends with, like, the infamous Magneto attacking Wolverine and leaving him changed forever. So I found that, like, volume 7, To the Bone, was a really, really good character study of, like, Wolverine and Logan as a person. It's like, you know, because of what happened to him, he starts to question, like, oh, do I even have a place in this world? Do I always cause pain wherever I go? Because he goes to meet up with friends to try to, you know, get some help. And there's a lot of good stuff in this. I thought there was a lot of good character exploration, especially in some of these early issues right after that thing happened. Like, this page of Logan's bleeding hand, like, hits like it just hits like a freight train emotionally, especially with Yuriko there. It's really great. I quite enjoyed it. The Dying Game was a little crazier. This is volume 8. This kind of continues some of that character exploration, but it starts to get a little zanier towards the end. And towards the end of this, he goes through another radical transformation, which is where he starts to become more feral. And then this is the volume that's him kind of more feral, and so he's got a different look. If the artist feels like drawing him more feral, they will. This also intersects with the Onslaught storyline, which is, you know, a whole big editorial mess. But there's a lot of good stuff in here as well. But I will say it did start to lose me a little bit. I was like, I'm kind of glad I'm coming to the end of my Wolverine binge because this stuff got kind of goofy. And then you get other issues like this where it's like a Venom crossover, but then, like, Wolverine looks exactly the same as before. And it's like, does this take place prior? But it's like, oh no, here's some villains that take place during. That being said, I came for Larry Hama writing Wolverine, and I got a lot of Larry Hama writing Wolverine. And these Logan one-shots in the back, I thought, were just kind of okay. It did get kind of goofy in this era, but I will say that Larry Hama's writing keeps it going. That's kind of how it goes. But that's it for Marvel. All right, moving on to DC. We have Green Arrow Against the Wall. This is volume 3 of his current series. This is the last volume by Joshua Williamson, and it's been fantastic. I've been reading this monthly, and you can tell I like it a lot because I also just turned around and bought it in trades. This does contain the tie-ins to the absolutely abysmal Absolute Power event. I don't like that storyline, and if you do, more power to you. But this contains not only the end of Joshua Williamson's run, it also contains, like, the annual. What is it? It is Green Arrow 13 through 16, the annual, and then a story from Green Arrow 17. So they did something smart with this. When the DC All In initiative started, there was kind of this push to like have new jumping on points for creators. So basically some series were relaunched with new creative teams, some series were started over from issue 1. They basically did a whole shakeup on the books. Some of the books did continue with their creative teams in place, which is great, but they did a bunch of shakeups for the DC All-In event. Now with Green Arrow, Joshua Williamson was going to get busy with other books, so he did decide to leave Green Arrow. Chris Condon came over to take over. So what they did is they kind of did a baton pass issue. Issue 17, the first half of it was the final Joshua Williamson Green Arrow story, and then the back half of it was the first Chris Condon Green Arrow story. So what they did for the trade paperbacks is instead of just making this straight, 13 through 17, they did the first half of 17, the part that Joshua Williamson's wrote. And then that way, when you pick up the next volume, volume 4 will be the Chris Condon run starting, and that'll have the back half of issue 17, which starts that storyline. So I think that was really smart. That way there's a clean break, so if you're somebody that's just collecting Joshua Williamson written stuff, you got that. If you want to just jump into the Chris Condon stuff, because I don't know if they're renumbering it, since they put the numbers in the back with some of their trades. I don't know if it's going to get renumbered volume 1, but it's kind of a smart thing, I think, to split the book like that. But really great run, really solid time for the character. Speaking of solid time for the characters that start with Green, Green Lantern is on fire right now. Jeremy Adams has pulled together a Green Lantern run that is making me enjoy Green Lantern in a way I haven't in a while. Jeff Johns is one of the architects of modern Green Lantern. He introduced all the emotional spectrum elements and a lot of the stuff that I think makes the Green Lantern mythos more interesting. But no one's really capitalized on it as well. Venditti, who came right after Johns, did a good job, but they've kind of struggled to do interesting things with Green Lantern since, and nobody's really taken a stab at adding to the mythos. Jeremy Adams has added to the mythos. There is a lot of great stuff in this run, and I've been reading it. I wasn't reading it monthly, because the Green Lantern book's been kind of mid for years, so I decided to start picking up the trades because I've been reading it on DC Universe, since, I have a DC Universe subscription. I've just been reading it there. And the recent issues of what will be the third trade, once you get past the Absolute Power stuff, it has been so good that I was like, oh, I need to backtrack and pick up all of the previous trades. And so what we got here is a lot of cool stuff going on. So this is Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1, Back in Action. Volume 2, Love and War. Just like Green Arrow, the volume numbers on the back. I will say, this first one is a pretty good deal. It's $20 and 8 issues, because Green Lantern 1 to 6, and then it's the Night Terrors Green Lantern 1 to 2. One of the worst things DC did with the Donna DC initiative is that they immediately interrupted it with this event called Night Terrors, where everyone was having nightmares. And a lot of those had different creative teams, and they had no connections. But Jeremy Adams actually led into his Night Terrors issues. And it's the only Night Terrors issues I think are worth reading at this point, because I think most people agreed that event was a big old wet noodle. And so it has both the Hal Jordan and Sinestro stories, and those influence and connect to the rest of the Green Lantern series. And I think that's really, really awesome. And then Volume 2 here is just, 7 through 12. This is great. If you're looking to get into Green Lantern, this is a really good starting point. It starts basic, and then it kind of builds itself up, and it's been really taking off. And then as a part of this, if you're a fan of the Green Lantern animated series, you need to be reading this comic, because without major spoilers, Razor now exists in the comics, finally. And in the current arc, they're riding around a spaceship that's literally the spaceship from the animated series. It is definitely nice to see that show get some influence into the comics. What's also great to see is that, again, it's not in these 2 volumes per se, but the third volume, and especially leading into the new Green Lantern Corps series, the Civil Corps arc, that's what I'm looking for. Green Lantern, DC's trades are really slow, so we should be a lot more caught up, but whatever. In the Civil Corps stuff, they've introduced Alan Scott Green Lantern again, and this is great because the way they've introduced him is basically from the Alan Scott Green Lantern miniseries during Dawn of DC, the way it ended, and the way that Alan was portrayed here and his storylines he goes through here. Now he is in the Green Lantern mythos, and I think they finally cracked how to include Alan Scott as part of the Space Green Lantern stuff, because he starts getting talked about he's this myth, this lantern that existed without the Guardians of the Universe intervening, and I really, really like that. Adding to this, the Alan Scott Green Lantern series, they did kind of 3 series with JSA members with Golden Age heroes. It was Jay Garrick Flash, and it was Wesley Dodds Sandman. This contains the 6-issue miniseries plus his story from the recent DC Pride. This was my favorite of them, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll pick it up at some point. But I was like, okay, once he showed up in the Jeremy Adams Green Lantern and it was connecting, I was like, oh, I definitely need this now. This was a great series because it gave Alan his own Red Lantern. And this is a Red Lantern who ends up working for Russia, and so it goes into, like, you know, the Red Scare and that kind of stuff. And then also adding a layer to it, this Red Lantern has a very personal connection to Alan, and so it adds a lot of, like, really good depth. But I thought it was really cool they kind of took the elements of modern Green Lantern with something like a Red Lantern and then put it into the setting of original 40s Golden Age Green Lantern. I thought, what a great way to do it. Now, adding to this, there's another series, which is Green Lantern War Journal, which I actually did read in singles because John Stewart, one of my favorite Green Lanterns, top 3 right there. This is a great series exploring John's family and his past and himself, and also bringing back one of the elements that has been missing from John Stewart stories is that he's an architect. They've really leaned into, like, the, oh, he's a Marine part, especially with the Jeff Johns era stuff. It's been like, oh, he's the Marine Green Lantern. No, he's an architect. You know, like, I love that they have, like, each Green Lantern has, like, these kind of backstories that inform them. Like, you know, John's an architect. You know, Kyle Rayner is like a cartoonist. You know, he's an artist. And I love those elements because I think they make them better Green Lanterns. This is the second half of this series. This has got Green Lantern War Journal 7 through 12 and the epilogue story from Green Lantern 15. There was a backup that was, you know, an epilogue to it. And it's funny because we have that epilogue story in trade before we have Green Lantern 15 because the trades are slow. But all this stuff, plus Green Lantern War Journal Volume 1, which I already had, terrific. Really great. I hope one day they get to do an omnibus and they intersplice all of this together because it's just really cool seeing all the Green Lantern mythos come together. All right, next up we have Superman Birthright, the deluxe edition paperback. So this is a thing that DC Universe does. If you have their annual subscription on the Ultra tier for DC Universe Infinite, every year once your subscription renews, you get an email and they say, oh, which book would you like us to send you? And every year they offer a new one. So they've been doing this 3 years so far. The first one was a Death of Superman collection that came with some of the, like, post Death of Superman Doomsday stories, which that was great. The second one was the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. And this third one is Superman Birthright, which, you know, it's Mark Waid, Lionel Francis Yu, terrific series. Superman Birthright is absolutely one of, like, the best Superman stories. I have the original hardcover from back when it came out. It is so good. I really love Birthright. It's one of my favorite Superman comics. And so getting another edition of it was like, oh, heck yeah. Also, because I had the previous 2 books. But I think it's really cool that, like, yeah, you know, the ultimate, the annual, like, Ultra tier is like $120 a year, which I think is not a bad deal if you read a ton of comics because, like, for me, you know, I buy some DC stuff physically in singles, and then others, like I was mentioning Green Lantern or Superman or Batman, you know, all those, I read those on DC Universe because with the Ultra tier, they're only a month later. So I don't feel like I'm, like, super duper behind. And then also as part of that, like, annual cost, they send me a book that, you know, is basically like a $30, $40 book. I mean, they probably sell this for $40 if they sold a paperback. But it's the same exact contents as the deluxe edition hardcover for Superman Birthright, but it's in a paperback. It's got a unique cover, which I think is pretty cool. It is, of course, the deluxe edition larger size as well, which I think is awesome. It's a pretty cool bonus, and I'm really happy that they give us choice as well. They can be like, oh, which book do you want? It's nice if you sign up and you're like, I already have Superman Birthright. I want the Batman Who Laughs or something. So really cool. Really hope they keep that up because it's a great perk to the subscription. So I only picked up one DC Finest this month, and it wasn't even one for me. It's Supergirl, the Girl of Steel. This is the original Supergirl era, 1959, 1962. This is Silver Age Supergirl from her debut up through the next 3 years. So it's got, like, you know, instead of, like, full issues, it's, you know, you have material from, you know, all these comics. Like, you know, it's the Supergirl stories from those issues and, like, her guest appearances and stuff. She didn't have an ongoing. Now, the thing I like about DC Finest is they do that. They actually are like, here, it's a character collection volume. And so you get all that character's appearances for that period of time, no matter which book they show up in. I really do like that, and I'm really enjoying DC Finest. Now, I didn't buy this for myself. Personally speaking, I do like Silver Age comics. We'll be talking about one in a little bit. But it is very hit or miss for me, and I've been reading comics long enough to know which like Silver Age DC I like. So the thing was, I wasn't gonna buy this for myself, but my mom loves Silver Age Superman family because that was the era she grew up in, and so I picked this up for her because I was like talking to her about DC Finest, and I was like, well, they got some Silver Age, she asked, like, are they going to do any Silver Age, like, Superman stuff? And I was like, well, they got Supergirl coming out, there's a Superman family volume, and there's a Superboy. So I picked this up for her, and I hope she will enjoy it. I'm sure she will. What's also kind of fun is the next Supergirl volume is, like, the Peter David run from the mid-90s. And I'm like, oh, hey, that's going to be for me. So it's really cool. But yeah, I picked this up for my mom, and, I'm going to get her the other Silver Age Superman family stuff, because, yeah, it's the era she grew up in. Superman's her favorite superhero, so... it's always good times. Moving into hardcovers, we asked the question, how many times can Soundout buy Far Sector before he's sick of it? And the answer is, I won't get sick of it. I love this comic. If you haven't heard me yap about Far Sector before, you may have heard when I yapped about it in the Far Sector short on the Compact Comics. This is the third time I bought this series. I really love this one. There's certain comics that you just love to death, and you're like, oh, a new format? Sure. The nice part is that there are upgrades almost each time. So kind of to go through this, Far Sector is the story of Green Lantern Jill Mullion. She is like on a Far Sector quest, right? She's not in a normal space sector. She's on a Far Sector, and she has to solve this murder mystery story. And the murder mystery is interesting because it's a planet that doesn't have emotions, but people then have to feel something. And so there's like a whole drug trade with like emotions, but somebody gets murdered, which is not supposed to happen. That's the point of getting rid of everybody's emotions, is so that you reduce crime, right? There's a lot of great social commentary, a lot of great intrigue. It's a 12-issue series that really dives in and explores like this sector of space, explores Joe as a character, and does a lot of great stuff. And when it was first like announced and it was released, it was very much like a kind of like side thing. It was like a not full-on Elseworlds, but it was part of like the DC Young Animal branding. And so it was kind of like, oh, this isn't in like main DC canon. It's just kind of its own side thing, like the Wonder Twins comic. But then Joe ended up being popular, and so she's made it into main stuff. I mean, she's in the Jeremy Adams Green Lantern run I was just going on about. So she's been popping over, and so now they've canonized the series into your main DC universe. So I think that's really awesome. This deluxe edition, in addition to coming with just a ton of bonus features, you can see a ton of art galleries. There's like, a making of section with like talking about like how they came up with the characters and the issues and the concept art and the scripts and all that good stuff. This also contains some extra material because, for example, the first release, the trade paperback here, was just issues 1 through 12, plus some cool, there was some background, there was some behind the scenes and cover galleries back here, but it wasn't like nearly as much. There was some of it in there, which was really nice. Had an introduction by Gerard Way, because he was kind of in charge of the whole DC Young Animal thing, and they reprinted this introduction in the deluxe edition. But yeah, so you got all kinds of cool stuff. By the way, N.K. Jemisin and Jamal Campbell on the series. Terrific. So this is, this was just the 12-issue series. Then they did the compact edition, which the only reason I really bought the compact edition was because I wanted to see what a DC compact edition was like. I really wanted to see one of these in hand. And so, of course, I picked one of my favorite, comics of all time. Like, I looked at the initial lineup and I was like, well, I love Far Sector. So, and plus, it was $10. That's the thing about compact that works, is they're $10. Once again, 12 issues, doesn't have any of that bonus stuff. But then with this, they did this really smart thing, which is they included extra stuff. So you got the Far Sector 1 to 12, but then you also have the epilogue story that was written for DC Power 2024, which that was a collection of stories for black characters in DC. And so Joe got like an epilogue story that kind of followed it up. And so that's now included here, which is really, really nice. That's also in the DC Power like trade paperback collection. And then you get a new afterword as well as all the behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, you're spending, $50 cover price on this deluxe edition, not just for the hardcover, but new material as well, which made it an even easier sell. Plus this cover is brand new for this edition, which is really, really nice. This is of course going to be the edition I keep on the shelf because naturally I would. Look at this gorgeous artwork. I love this book so much. It just looks really incredible, and I'm so happy it's in deluxe edition because this is like, this This is the closest we get to an omnibus because, you know, it's not worthy of the omnibus title. It's only 12 issues and a backup story, but it's definitely like worthy of a deluxe edition. Now, the only way DC could get me to buy it a fourth time at this point is if they bring out an absolute edition. And I'm not saying that they need to. I'm not saying the deluxe edition isn't nice. I'm not, you know, not ungrateful here, but if DC wants me to buy my first absolute edition, this would be the comic to do it. Now, speaking of comics I love that I'll totally rebuy, Legion of Superheroes, The Great Darkness Saga. One of the best Legion stories. A lot of people say the best. Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen. This is, like, I think it's my favorite Legion era. It's that, like, late 70s, early 80s Legion. I really love just how they told Legion stories in that era. I love the Legion of Superheroes. I already mentioned it's my favorite superhero team of all time. Absolutely adore the Legion. This deluxe edition came out several years ago. This is actually a 2025 reprint edition. This has Legion 284 to 296 in annual number 1, as well as bonus material. Now, I have the Great Darkness Saga paperback that was released, you know, a while back, and I wanted the deluxe edition. I didn't know it existed when I, you know, was first buying Legion comics. It's actually one of the earliest Legion books I read. I love this era. I love this storyline. I kind of hate that the storyline is spoiled by every modern, like, release of it, because they're building up to this big thing of, like, who's causing the Great Darkness? Well, I don't know who's causing the Great Darkness. Yeah, they put Darkseid on the cover every time they release this, even back to the original trade paperback, because, like, the iconography of Darkseid in the Legion of Superheroes time period is, like, kind of the selling point now. But at the time, it was a surprise. Like, Darkseid doesn't show up in this book until there, 307 pages into this thing. It is supposed to be a big plot twist, but it's not anymore. At the time, though, it was amazing. There's a lot of great bonus material in here. You can see, yeah, here's the trade paperback from 1989, which also, you know, had that. And then here's like a variant cover that homaged it. Character design art as well. It's got this is my favorite part of it. It has this poster. There is a Legion poster they released in '83 that had all of the Legionnaires and Legion characters on it. And they printed it in an insanely long fold-out in the back of this deluxe edition. And I guarantee you the paperback did not have this. It is the full Legion poster with the several pages of breakdown so you know who every single character is. I absolutely adore that. That makes this whole thing worth it. So, you know, I was rebuying this. It doesn't have any contents issue-wise that the paperback didn't. But I absolutely wanted to get this because it is one of the best storylines. The Darkseid angle is only part of it. I think the build-up to it, the way the Legion works together, the way that they work through the different Legion stories, it's terrific. Absolutely recommend it. Like I said, it was one of the earliest Legion comics I ever read, and I think I did buy it because Darkseid was on the cover. I'm not going to lie, so I understand why they do it, but yeah, it's great. And I'm also looking forward to Legion of Superheroes The Curse Deluxe Edition is getting a reprint as well, because I never owned that. I didn't have the paperback of that, if there even was one. I missed a lot of this stuff because when a lot of DC was doing like really great, like 2011 to like 2015, I was just getting into buying comics and collecting them. So I wasn't buying these big editions. And it was always kind of a bummer. I missed out on some stuff. And so it's nice that DC lately has been on a reprint binge because it's allowing me to catch up on things. Like, for example, the Deadman Omnibus. Oh, I was so excited this got reprinted. And the Spectre, Wrath of the Spectre Omnibus is coming out in June, and we're getting a Spectre by John Ostrander Omnibus later. I love DC supernatural characters. When we finally got the Phantom Stranger Omnibus, I was super excited, and it did make me a little sad that I didn't have the Deadman and the Spectre ones, and now they're coming out again, and I'm so excited. All right, so this is a omnibus in the sense of an omnibus. This is Deadman appearing all the way through his original appearance, all the way up through the Bronze Age. So just like the Phantom Stranger one was kind of the same thing. It's everything, from what I can tell, it's like every Deadman appearance from his debut to before Crisis, like, essentially. And so you got, you know, the Deadman 1 to 4 miniseries actually at the end of this book, but, you know, Strange Adventures, you got, you know, all this stuff, all of these comics he appeared in. Great collection. You have Arnold Drake, Carmine Infantino, Neil Adams, Jerry Conway, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Jack Miller. Amazing talent. Also really nice, $125 cover price. That's a little bit less than some other omnibuses have been. This is a new edition. You can see it's got the new DC logo. It's not just a straight reprint, but it is the same contents. I really love these characters, and I love Deadman, and it's so cool finally getting, you know, like the introduction here. And there even is a thing about Dead Man by Carmine Infantino. There's a lot of, like, prologue stuff here. There's introductions, and you start in the Silver Age. Now, this is the Silver Age stuff I like. The little bit edgier, like, we're going to go with kind of a, like, we're going to see if we can challenge the comics code kind of thing. I like, unique art styles. You can see that, like, this looks different than say, for example, Silver Age Supergirl. This is the kind of Silver Age stuff I really enjoy reading. There is a bit of overlap with this and the Phantom Stranger Omnibus because they do cross over a lot. I don't mind that. I know some people do complain about double dipping. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I think when it's across characters, I would rather the Phantom Stranger issues appear in this Dead Man Omnibus and the Phantom Stranger. So if you're just buying one, you're still getting all the appearances. If you've been like me and you've been wanting to, like, pick this up and you've been hoping it would come back, it's back. It's time to get it. Like, it even puts in the who's who of the DC Universe issues that are related to the characters. Yeah, Dead Man is back. And the last book of the haul is the big one, Superman the Triangle Era, Omnibus Volume 1. So Superman here had, there was a lot of reinvention of Superman post Crisis on Infinite Earths. There was the John Byrne Man of Steel era, which I know a lot of people love. Not too big of a fan personally. There was some stuff in between. I know there's a Superman, like, Exile Omnibus that, and then, like, one more Omnibus that would go before this. But where I think a big reinvention of Superman came in was in the 90s, late 80s, like late 80s, and then early 90s, the Superman Triangle era. So the Triangle era may just sound weird to, like, people not in the know. This omnibus contains, it has the Triangle era story arcs like Time and Time Again, Red Glass, Blackout, and more. There's also Crisis of the Crimson Kryptonite. It is Superman 49 to 63, Starman 28, Adventures of Superman 472 to 486, Action Comics 659 to 673, Superman Man of Steel 1 to 8, and a brand new introduction. So basically, if you go back into your comics history, a lot of comics in the early 90s, they were starting to do multiple titles for a character. So for example, like Spider-Man had like 4 books a month. X-Men had two main books a month with X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, plus all their spin-off teams. Superman was also getting into that game, and that was going to be 4 issues a month, and it would be Action Comics, Adventures of Superman, Superman, and the Man of Steel. The way that they kept track of this, and this is something that DC did with Superman that no one else did, and it's really helpful for archival purposes. See how it says 1991-15? That is because Action Comics, Action Comics 665, is the 15th issue of 1991. And so naturally you go to the next issue, there's 17, of course, we just skipped over 16. So basically, if you were reading these comics back in the day, or anytime since, you would know what order these are supposed to be read in, because they were all interconnected, and a lot of them had storylines where it was like part 1 was in Man of Steel, part 2 was in, Adventures of Superman. It started with 3 comics, then it bumped up to 4, that's why there's only 8 issues of Man of Steel. And this era is just, it's a great reinvention, I think, in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of great stuff. You have a lot of great creators, like just fantastic creators on these books. And I really love that we got a collection that just has it all in one. Because, obviously some of these storylines will say directly continued into Superman 57, and you need to go to this one. But, I just think there's such a great talent. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but for me, every time I've read stuff from this era, I've really enjoyed it. Now, of course, this era does famously have, because they did have the Superman group meetings, they were planning to do a wedding between Superman and Lois, and they were going to have Clark marry Lois. It was going to be a big whole thing. I actually have this issue in singles, the one with the film strip running down the side here. This one here, Curse of the Atomic Skull. This era, they had the group editors who were doing all the Superman stuff, and they'd have meetings, and like, all right, what story are we going to do? Oh, we're going to do the wedding. And then Warner Brothers said, you can't do a wedding between Clark and Lois. We're doing that on the TV show. You have to wait for the TV show to do it, so that way the show doesn't, have a problem. And it doesn't seem like it's not that big of a deal. Like, we don't, like, essentially they didn't want to spoil that the characters ended up together or something. Some dumb corporate synergy thing. And so they were like, okay, well, all of our storylines for Superman and Lois are now out the window. What the hell do we do? And there was always a guy in the room who would always suggest killing off Superman. And so at that time, when they were so defeated after they had to throw away everything they planned, they said, sure, why not? Let's kill him. And so this era, this book doesn't get up to it. You can see this book ends about here. And it's actually kind of cool they included some of the trade paperbacks. There's also like introductions from those old trade paperbacks, which is really, really awesome, and some sketches and some bonuses. But this era would eventually, go into the death of Superman, right? So the death of Superman comes up, and then you have to have the return of Superman. But before then, it's the reign of the Superman. And they used we have 4 titles a month really effectively, because you had your 4 replacement Supermans as Steel, Superboy, Eradicator, and Cyborg Superman. And so each of them had a title to kind of establish like their status quo and like play up the mystery of like which one is actually Superman before they bring back Clark. And so what's really cool, and this is a double dipping bummer for some people, Volume 2 of this Omnibus series is going to include the death of Superman and the funeral, which means instead of pausing the Omnibus, then saying go buy the Death and Return of Superman Omnibus that's been printed like 6 or 7 times now, they're actually going to include them in. So that means, from what I can tell, if I'm doing my mapping correctly, the second one of these big ass books will contain, Death and Funeral. Then the third one will contain like Reign and Return and the stuff right after, which isn't in the Death and Return Omnibus. And I think that's great. Now, if you already have the Death and Return Omnibus, that is annoying because it's still Superman. Like, if you're buying all Superman omnibuses, double dipping there, that's a bummer. And I agree when people complain about double dipping within the same character. Because it's like, okay, yeah, we could have mapped it a little better. But on the flip side, as someone that doesn't have the Death and Returns Omnibus, I've had it in my wish list going, well, is the triangle... Like, I was waiting. I was like, is the Triangle Years Volume 2 going to contain the Death of Superman? Because if it does, I don't need that omnibus. And if it doesn't, then I do. And I'm glad that it does just contain the Death and Return. It's just, clean. It's just going to keep going. And I don't know how many volumes it's going to be. I think the Triangle Years, there's enough of it. It's probably like 5, 6 volumes. I'll keep buying it. I love this era. I can't wait to read it all. I've never read it all in order before. So I'm really looking forward to cracking into this one. But yeah, that's my big tangent on Superman Triangle era. Absolutely love this era. Happy that these omnibuses exist, and I can't wait for the next one. So that does it for... That's probably the biggest haul I've done in 1 month, right? The pile up of sales really helped, I guess. This was fun. I know this was long, so I'm not going to ramble on too long. I'm going to say this Superman spine looks fantastic. I love the big character portrait in addition to the big logo. This still looks good, but, this looks nice with I like the characters' portraits on the side. Anyways, does it for this haul. If you want to stay tuned for more, be sure to hit subscribe and notification bell. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Leave any comments down below. Tell me what your favorite thing was you picked up in March for comics, or just, ask any questions about anything I looked at here or beyond. I'm pretty open to comments in the comments section down below. The comments section. Yeah, I'm talking too long. All right, on that note, if you want to continue the conversation, join our Discord server in the link below. We talk about comic books all the time and all kinds of good stuff. And if you want to help support the channel directly to make videos like this possible, consider joining as a channel member. There's perks like early access to videos, member-exclusive live streams, and more. Consider it while we give a special shout-out to our channel members. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including Captain Tier, Spin-54, Toma K, Masterbin95, Super Shaddix Boom, Forever1000, Michael Flores, Common Spidey, Jamie's World, The Clueless Collector, Mr. Smelly Potato, Vigo, Common Pikachu, Colm Creed, Spidey Brian, BV Universe Official, Philip Ceruno, Ben Odinson, Mars the Star Droid, EZP3R, K Breezy, Shinji, Nerdy Texas Accountant, Cam Strickland, Common Jojo, EasyTo727, Greg Harris, and Matches Dent. Also special shout out to our new Commander tiers, the Man of Movies, Jess Zayden, and Brendan Overland. Thank you everybody for your support of this channel, both channel members and viewers alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media at Blue Sky and Discord at Soundout12. You can find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for comic news, interviews, and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.